All right, welcome to the channel. So today we're going to add Google authentication. The stack will be Bun and Hono on the backend, and we are going just to use a simple small library which will help us to create an authentication client for Google provider. Let's take a look into the code straight away. So our root handler is something like this. And the only thing we're doing here is we're creating some simple HTML, and we getting our session, which is literally just a cookie. And if you want to learn more about that, you can watch my previous video about cookie sessions with Bun and Hono. But we'll take a look into some details today as well here. So we have this session, and then we're trying to get the user key from the session value. Sometime it will be nil, sometime it will have some value. And basically when we have this user, we render this block, which will be just like a string representation of that object. And we'll just print it, like put it in our HTML, and we'll have our log out button to log out. And if not, we just rendering this Google login link. And this is how it looks, just a single link here. If we click on this link, this is what's happening. You see now we are on a different URL, which is from Google itself. And now we can select an account that we want to log in with. And probably you've seen this a lot in all the application on the web when you do Google sign in. So what happened here after we clicked an href, which leads to our login/Google root, we somehow were redirected into the Google authentication server. So if we scroll a bit, we'll see the handler for Google/login. And here are some interesting things happening. So first of all, we're creating this Google OAuth state. Nothing too scary, because if you go inside the function definition, you will see that this state is basically just a random string. So you see here we're using this crypto thing, and then we do get random values and then do encode base64 URL. So the content of that is not important. We just want some unique string here. And then we're using this Google OAuth client. And for that, we need to scroll a bit to the top. So it's defined globally here. You see we use Google Authentication Client, a new auth client. And it comes from a small library called OAuth2, and it's like a package called OAuth2. So a couple configuration options that we need here is our Google client ID, which we'll take a look in a second, and then a couple URLs. So this will be always the same if we talking about authentication with Google. If you're building something with Facebook or LinkedIn, this will be other URLs. And then we have the token endpoint, again, something that will be common in all applications. And then we provide our redirect URL that we'll take a look a bit later. But basically, we're interested in this bit, and we'll have a separate handler in our backend for this callback. All right. Probably you are asking where I get this client ID. And probably that's the most annoying part of the entire flow, because you need to go to Google console and generate one for you. So it is consolecloud.google.com. And then when you create your first project here at the top, then you go to credentials and select new credentials, and you want this OAuth client ID. And in the type, you do web application, some name. And then for the authorized JavaScript origins, if you just want to do it from your local host, you do local host and whatever port you're going to use. And then authorization redirect URLs, same host, and then something like Google callback. and you want a handler in your backend server for this callback. Then you create it, and you will see client ID right here and client secret right here. So you copy these two values, and I put them in the envs file. So I created this envs.local, and I have Google client ID and Google secret ID. Don't worry, you won't be able to use those two because I'm going to destroy my client credentials right after the recording. So yeah, this is client ID. We discussed all of those. And basically you have this client that you can use now in your code. So the first API function that we're going to use from that is to create authorization URL. And it is also really simple because the only thing it's doing is actually building a URL in a correct format for you. So it adds like search params for response type, client ID that you provided, state, scope, and redirect URLs, etc. So it's really simple. And as you can see, I'm logging it right here. And when I click the button, you see we generated this redirect URL like this. And let's keep the cookie for now. But after that, we're doing the HTTP redirect from the backend, instructing the browser to redirect to this new location. We're just getting this URL to string from what we generated right here. And I also adding this in a bit hacky way, but basically this will allow us to always see this prompt to accept the consent, because in opposite case, if you're first time doing that, next time it won't ask you for some time. So yeah, it's just like a hack for the demo probably. You can remove this bit. And yeah, two things to discuss is one, the scopes. And those scopes could be different for different auth clients like Google, Facebook, different formats probably. But if you want to get some basic information like name, first name of the user picture, this is what you need for Google client. You can just copy this string and put it as the scope. This is what we request from Google to be able to access to. Okay, and the next thing is this cookie that we want to create. So we're using this state that we already generated, and we know it's just like a random string. And then we create some cookie properties. So we only allow this cookie to be set from to be passed through HTTP request. And then we have secure false for development and probably true for production. And we can set the max age. So what this will do, it will set the cookie in the browser. So when we are redirected back, we can get the state of the cookie, and we can compare with the state that we're getting in the redirect. And this is kind of important from the security point of view. And the best article I found is to read this one. It describes how you can prevent some attacks with this with checking the state. But we'll see that in the code in a second. Okay, so we are now up to this line when our backend redirected our browser to this new URL into google.com. And after that, if we click on our account, we choosing that we can log in. And what happens next is Google will redirect us back to our callback URL. We're doing a couple things here. First of all, we're checking the state. So as you can see, we can access state from the request query. So this is what Google will send us. But also we have the cookie that we set ourselves in the browser. So the cookie we're getting from the request as well. And we interested in this cookie specifically. That's the name that we picked. And after getting the value of the cookie, we're just checking that both of these things are not nil, and then we check that they are same. If it's not true, we are returning exception or like error status from the backend. So something is wrong here. These two states should match. Yeah. And after that, when we getting the callback, most important bit that we get now is the code. And it will be passed again as the query parameter in the callback request. So it will be something like state, whatever, and code, our auth code, right? Something like that. So when we got the code and we logged it here, as you can see, the next thing is to get the access token. And we have this helper function as well to validate authorization code. Let me find that. Validate authorization code. And yeah, this is what we're doing. We are sending token request basically with these params. After we successfully executed this function, that will be an extra call to Google servers, we'll get the access token back. And with this access token, we now call any Google API if we have enough permissions that we requested in that scope that we've seen before, we'll be able to get data back. And I created some simple function, get Google user. Basically, we're just using the Bun fetch API, and we're doing the call to Google APIs and getting the user info. And the only thing we need to authenticate now is to pass this authorization header, and we pass our access token right here in the header value. And then we get the JSON back. Okay, so now we have this user, and now we will use our cookie sessions to set the value that we got for the user information. As you can see here, it's printed as well, like the user, and it will be name, my name, given name, family name, and the picture. That's what we're getting by default. We want to set the data in our session cookie. Again, don't want to spend too much time on the session cookies. It was discussed in the previous video, but it's using this small library called Hono sessions, and we basically can use this cookie store, which will set our encrypt our cookie value into like encrypted secret, and then it will be used as a cookie, so we can create sessions like that. Yeah, so after we set it here, we are redirected back to our home page. And as you can see here, now we have our JSON for the user printed inside our HTML. So from this point, it's up to you what you're doing with this information. So probably you can use this sub, which should be a unique ID, or you can like request email or whatever, but probably this sub thing will be unique and will be one change. So you can use that as identifier for your user. So you can, if you want to create user management by yourself, you can use this ID and link it to some user ID entity that exists in your system. And then you can understand that this is like user that logged in with this Google account. All right, so about the libraries I used. So I mentioned we were using Bun and Hono, but that's like a well-known things. The other thing is this small library for Hono sessions, and this Oslo thing is actually, I was initially thinking to use this Lucia library for authentication, but it's doing more than just Google or OAuth integration. It's just like a full management of users in your database. It can do password authentication, etc. So, and the main reason I decided not to use that is because it's not still supporting Bun, and you need basically a database adapter that using like SQL Bun, SQLite provider, which was announced to be supported in version 3. But I just discovered that there is like in this smaller library set from the same author, I believe, and it just has like required minimal features that I need. But as you see in both functions that we used here to create the URL, super simple one, and then to validate the authorization code are trivial, so you can do it by yourself as well. So that's all I wanted to show you today. Hope it was helpful, and see you next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave comments. And also you can support me by buying me a coffee or subscribing to my Substack. Thanks a lot. See you next video. Bye-bye.